Today, we are talking about all things postpartum essentials. So this is your first baby or your second, third time around, and you just want to be more prepared. This video is for you. In this video, we're breaking down postpartum essentials for the bathroom, the kitchen, mom bod, bedroom, and breastfeeding. In case you haven't met yet, I'm Kalina. I'm a toddler mom and also a mom to an incoming baby girl at 30 weeks pregnant. And on my channel, we're keeping things really encouraging, keeping things informative, and talking about all things pregnancy, postpartum, mindset, conscious parenting, some other woo-woo, non-toxic, natural stuff. So if any of that resonates, like and subscribe for new videos every week. For my full non-toxic baby registry video, make sure to check out this link. Before we dive into all the things that you must buy, let's just keep in mind that some of these things might actually be covered by your insurance or covered under your HSA. So make sure that you check with your provider to see if your plan can pay for some of these things. Let's just get the gross stuff out of the way and just start in the bathroom. The first thing that I always see these videos recommend is the Frida Perry bottle, which I'm not saying that's a bad idea. You should definitely get one, especially for the hospital. But if you can, I would raise you an actual bidet from this brand Tushy. It's awesome. It's like a Frida bottle that you never have to carry around, never have to refill. It just attaches to your toilet. It can come in a cool water or a warm water form. They're really inexpensive. You can install it pretty easily with a few tools, and it just attaches to the water supply at the back of your toilet, and boom, you have your own DIY built-in bidet. The second thing I recommend are stool softeners. I remember they gave me Miralax at the hospital, but there's also some other options that you can explore too. I would just talk to your doctor about that to make those first initial bowel movements just a little bit easier and kinder on your body. A postpartum recovery kit can also be really great. Things that include a perennial spray or balm and also a sitz bath to just give that downstairs area some extra love. You're also going to want some cooling pads because things get really hot down there. So you can buy a reusable or a throwaway variety and just stick them in your freezer and use them for that first week. Disposable underwear is also something that you're going to want to get. Definitely for those first couple weeks, there's going to be a lot of bleeding, and you're going to want to get something that's organic cotton and something that's kind and gentle on that skin that's already really sensitive and now especially inflamed postpartum. The disposable underwear themselves might not be enough, so I would also recommend getting a liner that you can insert while that bleeding is still really heavy in the beginning. Another option, if you just don't want to deal with something that's disposable and you want something that's a little bit more sustainable, is just to get postpartum or regular period underwear that is stretchy. Maybe it has a higher waist on it for those C-section mamas that's not going to put too much pressure on that scar area. There's so many brands out there. I've heard of Pact. There's other things you can get on Amazon. I really like the brand Wooka. It's a UK-based brand, and the underwear are so stretchy, they're so absorbent, and because they're not made in the US, of course, they're cleaner than most things that you can find here. Let's go into the kitchen. If nothing else, the most important thing is to recognize that you have just brought a life into this world. You went through so much work to do that, and your body needs you to repay it with a little bit of love. The best way that you can do that is by feeding it whole, nourishing foods. Things that are warming, full fat, lots of veggies, lots of fruit, lots of just things that make you feel warm and cozy and nourished inside. I highly recommend making some of that food ahead of time and putting it in the freezer. I'm 30 weeks out right now, and my goal is actually to make something in bulk ahead of time every week from now until my due date. That way I have a full freezer stocked with lots of things and don't have to worry about cooking that first month. During my first pregnancy, I had absolutely no idea what I was doing, so I instead opted for a meal delivery service, which was also great because it just took the pressure off having to think about what to eat and what to make and knowing if I was going to have the energy or the time to do that with a newborn baby being a new mom. I highly recommend bone broth. I really like this brand Lono Life. It's just a sipping broth. You pour some hot water in it and give it a stir, and it's an automatic 10 grams of protein whenever you need it. And it's super warming and super nourishing for you. Speaking of hydration, you absolutely cannot get enough of that postpartum. So I highly recommend something with electrolytes. You can make your own electrolytes. I know I make mine using some lemon and some Baja salt, but you can also opt for something from the store like coconut water. Something that I didn't do in my first pregnancy that I would definitely do this time around is getting the postnatal version of whatever your favorite prenatal supplement is. Your body doesn't stop working for your baby when you give birth. There's so much work that it's still doing after that happens. So it's really important to keep that nourishment up and just make sure that we're replenishing things that were lost and helping to put things into our body to give us the strength that we need to nurse and just manage this new chapter as a new mom again. There are also some postpartum tinctures that you can try from brands like Earthly or Wish Garden. I haven't tried those personally because I opted for something else that we'll talk about. But those can be really good options in case you are experiencing some baby blues or you just want to explore some natural remedial sort of hormone balancing type of tinctures to help you just start feeling a little bit more normal and a little bit like yourself, just quicker. The other thing that was in my kitchen was my placenta. I know there's so much mixed information about this, and definitely talk to your doctor and see what's right for you. But for me, I did a lot of research and found that that was something that I wanted to explore. And I will say, just anecdotally, I'm one of the few people that I know who didn't have postpartum depression. It could be just the luck of the draw or just for unrelated reasons, not having anything to do with my placenta whatsoever. But I did it and I felt great, so I think I'm just gonna do the same thing again. If you're really hardcore, you can actually just put it in a blender. You can freeze it, you can chop it up. That's a little bit too hardcore for me, so I actually paid someone to have my placenta encapsulated into these little pills and then also made into a tincture for some longer shelf life. And it didn't smell or taste like anything. It was just a regular little pill and looked just like all of the other prenatal supplements that I had been taking up until that time. Usually you can find someone like a doula or a midwife. They'll probably know someone who does that type of service for you. I think I paid about $300. So they just take the placenta that you put in a lunchbox inside some plastic bags from the hospital, you give it to them, and then a couple days later, they present you with a fully baked version of an encapsulated version of your placenta that you can start taking. Let's talk about mom bod. The first thing that I recommend is some type of abdominal binder for after you have your baby. I had a C-section, and for me, that just looked like this weird nylon sort of pull-up that I used that kind of just covered and gave some pressure on that C-section area so that if I made sudden movements or maybe a sneeze, I just knew that something terrible wasn't going to happen because I was being a little bit held in and a little bit supported. Another great thing to consider is a vibration plate for lymphatic drainage. When we're at the end of pregnancy and we give birth, our bodies are so swollen, so it's just an extra tool to help us get rid of that extra water that our body is carrying. The next thing I would recommend is a pelvic floor strengthening routine. I think the first place to start with that is just seeing a pelvic floor therapist to see what your specific challenges and requirements might be to help them make a plan that's custom for you. If you're more of a DIY kind of person, there's so much information online. I've really been liking the channels Mama Stay Fit and also Pregnancy and Postpartum TV, but there are so many good ones for different advice on things that you can do to start re-strengthening your pelvic floor from really, really early on after you've had a baby. And if you've had a C-section, pelvic floor strengthening is still for you. The next two tips are specifically for C-section mamas. The first is a silicone scar tape. Definitely not necessary if you don't mind the appearance of your scar, but if you want something that's going to gradually sort of take that look away and kind of fade it over time, then you can just try a silicone tape. It's really easy. You just peel it off and you stick it right over your scar. I highly recommend a C-section mobilization routine as well. This can include things like cupping, massaging, stretching. There are lots of things that you can do to start getting just more feeling and functionality and mobility back into that area. Check with your health provider to see when it might be a good time to start doing that. You don't want to start too early while things aren't healed, but you definitely can start earlier than you probably think. Moving on to the bedroom. I highly recommend getting a waterproof cover for your bed. It's really helpful for just keeping things clean and sanitary while there's still things being expelled from your body involuntarily, and also for everything nursing, because I know I woke up so many nights in those first few weeks just absolutely drenched in milk, and I would have been so upset if my $3,000 mattress was destroyed because of that. Another thing that can really help, especially for C-section mamas, is a wedge pillow, just so that you're sitting a little bit more upright and taking some of that pressure off that scar area. Let's talk about nursing and breastfeeding. In terms of breast milk storage, I would opt for something more natural and silicone-based that you can just reuse, throw it in the dishwasher, and something that doesn't have anything to do with plastic, where it's going to be touching your baby's milk and going to be warmed up. You're also going to want to find some nursing pads because you might leak a lot, especially in those first few weeks while your milk is regulating, and it really helps not to just be constantly drenched in milk. Another thing that will be really helpful is finding a nice nursing bra. They make different ones for sleeping that are a little bit more of a bralette lightweight. They make some that are also better for pumping and hands-free. So it just kind of depends on what you're looking for, but nursing bras are definitely something that I recommend. Nipple butter is also a really good thing to have on hand because things can get a little bit dry, a little bit chapped. So I really like the Earth Mama brand for nipple butter cream. And it's great because you could put it anywhere. You could put it on your hands for a little moisture. You could put it on your lips after. It's totally safe for the baby and you don't need to wipe it off. I never actually used these, but I did buy them just in case. These silverette cups, which are supposed to be really, really helpful for your nipples when things just go awry and get really dry and chapped and maybe even start bleeding. So maybe just having some of that on hand just in case things just happen to go a little bit downhill and you need a little bit more support. The next thing is an absolute must is a high quality breast pump. I personally used the Spectra S2. I really didn't have any complaints about it. I haven't used too many other breast pumps, so I don't have much to compare it to, but for me, it was a great option. You can operate each breast independently. It also can be unplugged and kind of taken on the go with you. So it's kind of sort of quasi-portable as well. A note on pumping and flange sizes. I did not know this, but apparently everyone's nipples are different sizes, and the flanges that come standardized with the breast pump is only for one size. You can actually buy custom flanges that will fit the size of your nipple because that will make such a difference in how much milk you get out and your comfort while you're pumping. There were times when I also just wanted something more manual, so I would recommend the Haka to help catch whatever letdown is happening in the breast that you're not using to feed on. And then also, sometimes you just want something that's a little bit more portable, a little bit more discreet and small, so you can also get a cheap little portable hand pump as well. Haka also makes a colostrum collector kit, which you can start using and basically talk to your OB to make sure, but they told me about 38 weeks, you can start pumping colostrum and just having that extra liquid gold ready to go when your baby arrives. Just in case your breastfeeding journey doesn't go as planned, I highly recommend just getting some formula as a backup. If you live in a single story and can easily access your fridge, don't worry about it. But if you live in a multi-story complex like I did with my first, I was running up and down the stairs all the time to go and put my milk supplies back in the fridge. So I actually just ended up getting a mini fridge that I kept in my bedroom with me to store all of my breast pumped milk. It was great because you can store the parts with the milk in them in the fridge for up to a whole day. So you only have to wash them once at the end of the day instead of having to go to the kitchen every single time, especially for those late night, middle of the night feedings with a newborn. Thank you so much for checking out this video on postpartum essentials, and I'm wishing you the very, very best of luck with the fullest heart in your postpartum journey and new motherhood journeys.